How would you like a 26 times return on your £1,000 investment? We are going to tell you why and how you are going to achieve that because actually, that sounds pretty decent. We will take that absolutely. A 26 return on just £1,000 might sound unbelievable, but it could actually be real life. And that's what's going to be great about today's show because we do actually have a real life case study to really give you kind of that food for thought and how you can apply a winning strategy to your home, just like one of our sellers did. Now, for the purpose of this case study, we're going to say Alison. Now, Alison's home was valued at 235,000, but she knew her neighbours just along the road were selling for actually closer to 245,000. So she was kind of determined, and it happens. But my dad, that one down the road was on for this, and that one, and they had a slightly bigger this, and they had this, and I've got this. It happens. It's part of the process. But Alison was determined to kind of close this gap a wee bit. So she thought, okay, I'm going to invest £1,000 to boost her home's appeal. Now, as always, and we do say don't fall victim to this sometimes and don't be guilty of this, but her friends were saying, don't bother, don't waste your time, don't do it. They're going to come in and rip it out or change this or put their own stamp on it anyway. And even her husband was a wee bit, I don't know, doubtful, we would say. But Alison stuck to her guns. She insisted that she was going to spend that £1,000 because she believed it would add value. So that's exactly what Alison did. Now, as usual with these things, we went slightly over budget, not much, just £100 over. So it was actually 1,100. Our home then hit the market. And do you know what her home hit the market at? And that is the key here. So don't forget, it was originally valued at 235. She's put that 1,100 investment in. Her home was then valued and went to market at 250,000. So that's 15 extra in her pocket for that 1,100. And it's not even actually been negotiated or offered on yet. So that was the starting point. She then took to market 10 viewings over that first weekend, which is an incredible start. And out with that, what came at the back of that was 3 firm offers. Now, the first one was 255,000. That was like that. And we do see that as soon as you get that first offer, it's like, oh, okay, what I did was worth it. Or okay, my home is worth that. That's great. That gives that like validation almost, like, okay, perfect. Second bid came in. Now, this was a cash offer. So not only is it a fantastic position to be in, but they offered 266, followed by that third offer, which was an incredible 275,000, which, as you can probably guess, 40,000 over that initial valuation. But actually, never mind the initial of what it was when it was a 235, even more so actually on top of that for that 1,100 investment. That buyer, however, did have a property to sell. So position came into play there. So you've got one at 255, one at 226, cash offer, and one at 275. Now, obviously, after discussions, with husband and with ourselves, Alison accepted the 266,000 cash offer. That was what she needed. She was delighted with that because it allowed her to move on with her journey. And that is what we are here for. We always say, don't we, Perrie, that people move for a reason. Yep. So what is that reason? And actually, that no chain allowed her to move on with her journey, which actually took her to Italy, which is lovely. Now, I know obviously I know Jim says this is God's country, but she moved to Italy. She wanted obviously a bit of more guaranteed sun. So the fact that the client was chain free, had that extra cash, was then able to help her kind of manage on other things. And because everybody does have a busy life and we are juggling other things. So that just gave her a bit more flexibility. So that's Alison's case study and actually how she got to that number with that investment. But what we want to look at is, how did that 1,100 have such an impact? And actually, let's take some top tips from that. so that you can potentially get that same return as well. So we're going to do a room by room journey, but what does that look like, Perrie?
Yeah, so we're going to give you some styling and art tips here.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is Alison's big 5 takeaways. What did they look like after she went on this journey, and what lessons did she learn from it? Making the living room feel larger, crafting a cook's kitchen. A kitchen's the heart of every home, isn't it? So absolutely, we're going to talk about how she did that. Big and blissful bedrooms as well. Bedrooms are
Mm-hmm.
your sanctuary. People want to enjoy that end of day quiet space. So we'll talk about that too. And then also from bathrooms to bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
So again, how do you pimp up your bathroom to make it feel more spa-like? And I think that
Yeah.
that's a real big feature as well. So kitchens and bathrooms are really the heart of every home, aren't they? And they're the things that we see with viewers that are most, they judge the most, I guess, because they're also the room in the property that generally is the most expensive to change, aren't they?
Yeah. Yes.
So that's a real big thing. So we're going to cover this article, and we're going to talk about some of Alison's clever combinations that she put in place. And she did a thorough shopping list. She stuck to what she was looking to do. She managed the value of that shopping list just about, but she did make a big difference to her home. So we're going to look at the 5 takeaways that Alison
Mm-hmm.
gave. So she proved really in this scenario that you didn't really need to spend a fortune on styling
Mm-hmm.
to make a huge impact. We often speak about that, and I've in previous shows we've also talked about the fact that actually something that's in one room can move into another room and make that other room look completely transformed. So you
Yes.
don't always necessarily need to be spending the cash either. So we're going to talk about how you can do that and how you can style things.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to cover this in some kind of bullet points. So if you are interested in this topic, you're perhaps thinking of selling your home, the link is in this post. You can read the full article. By all means, feel free to do that. But again, if you've actually applied some of this, we'd love to hear from you, because it gives us some further insight to other truth case studies of how you've maybe found a wee shortcut to add value to your home as well. So we'd definitely be interested in hearing from you. So it's about understanding what your potential buyers are looking for, and also when they come into your home, what are they seeing? Because we've heard it so many times, my house will sell, no bother. It'll go
Yes.
really quick. I don't feel I need to change anything. And the sellers generally are always looking from their perspective and through their eyes. Because also on the flip side, we also got other clients who'll say, oh, I'm going to have to redecorate the whole house. I'm going to have to put a new kitchen in. I'm going to have to change everything because all these things need done. So there's kind of two ways to look at that. But I think the key point here is to actually look at your property from the eyes of a neutral person who is potentially
Mm-hmm.
your future buyer, and what did they see when they come in. So actually, even if you get like a kind of non-friend, or a non-relative, but someone that an acquaintance, perhaps even just to come to the property, maybe do a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of research and like walk through and give you some hints as well, that's always a good thing to do. So we're going to talk at really what Alison did there in regards to not my view, someone else's view, i.e. my hopeful buyer's view. What do they see? So it's about creating an emotional connection as well. It's about showing that potential buyer the lifestyle that they get from the property, and it's not
Yeah.
just 4 walls. That's a real big thing as well.
Yeah.
So when she talks about that, we couldn't really put it any better, because we often say that, don't we? It's about
Mm-hmm.
senses, it's about emotion, it's about smell, sight,
100%.
the
Yes.
whole hearing, the garden. It's just the
Mm-hmm.
whole journey that buyer goes on the minute they come into your house. And
Mm-hmm.
generally, within 10 seconds of walking in, they've made a decision on what they're going to do. So it's really important that you get that wow factor right at the beginning, whether that's your
Mm-hmm.
curb appeal or once they've come into the home. So I think it's really great to look at each room and give it some theme or context. So even if it's only a subtle change that you're making, it helps when showing how the room can be basically working for someone else. Move things in that kind of can be repurposed as well, for me, I think is a real
Mm-hmm.
big factor. We've talked about that
Yeah.
before. So again, it's about having things clear of your line of sight. So, moving things and creating more space, but with the same amount in a room. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing the difference that can make just by shifting a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
Keep it simple and clutter free. So that's definitely something that I know I speak to my clients frequently about, is decluttering. It's a
Yes.
difficult subject, Sophie, isn't it? Because the seller's living in their home, they love it, they love everything about it, and then we'll walk in and you're going, okay, because you're looking at it from a different viewpoint. And
Correct.
we do say to our clients, don't we, do you want me to sugarcoat it? Do you want me to be honest? This the feedback to get your maximum, this is what we would need you to do. So we do talk about decluttering quite frequently. And I had that with a client recently, actually. We've just listed their property, and I went in to do my pre-portal, and they had decluttered, and the property, whilst it was beautiful to begin with, just looked so much more stylish. They didn't spend
Yes.
any money, they just spent some time doing it. So it's
And that's the key.
amazing, the decluttering.
Absolutely. Because and it's the mindset though, because people see clutter and then they go, so perhaps not storage at this property. Is there not things for my belongings? I can see all of their belongings. Where are my belongings going? Is there no storage? So
Mhm.
absolutely try and simplify it.
Yeah, and that's difficult because if you watch these property shows, I do them, you probably watch them as well. And every time you go in to watch these property shows, you maybe see them beforehand, you maybe see them afterwards, but they've clearly done a makeover and they're totally decluttered. They're depersonalized as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it really does show off the space that you've got. So, absolutely important if you're looking to sell your property, do that decluttering, store things away. Because in your own mind, and I don't know about you, Sophie, but I know I've got loads of stuff. When I decluttered 4 years ago when I downsized, it was difficult to do it. It's a painful journey, but actually it was so worth it once it was done. And it made a
Yeah.
massive difference to the sale that was achieved on the house. Um, to which I have to add, 5 properties sold and got me a
That
fantastic
also is
number.
a contributing factor. Yes.
Yeah. So, I was a customer before I became an employee and part of the team. So I really took on board that advice, and it really did make a big difference in what we achieved at the end of sale as well. So it makes the rooms feel larger. It makes them feel lighter and brighter. So when
Yeah.
Alison, in this case study, did that, that was one of her key tips, was declutter, depersonalize, move things around, show off the floor space, keep your line of sights clear as well. So, don't have tables and units in front of windows because you're blocking light. So these little things really make a difference. Um, Again, you can utilize the spaces, like if you're fortunate enough to have a garage or a big outbuilding, even if the things you want to keep, we're not saying throw your things away, you can put them into those outbuilding spaces to make the house feel clearer. No one is surprised when they're viewing a property and you open the garage and it's full of stuff. It happens at
Yeah.
every house. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever seen a car in a garage. Have you?
Probably a toy car amongst everything else. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's what she did. She basically stored a lot in the garage and the outbuildings. So again, that got rid of everything, but didn't necessarily mean that she didn't have it for her new property. But also a great way of doing it as well. Everyone has eBay, everyone's using Vinted nowadays. But if you've got,
Yes.
again, additional things, we don't want to just start throwing things away. Sell them. Go online. There's so many platforms out there where you can do that. And
Yeah.
actually, that spend, if you're having to spend on certain rooms, you might be able to recoup that from the things that you're not going to need that you've sold off. So actually, that can balance your books out as well. So do that rather than waste them. It makes your home look bigger if you do that. It removes the job for later, actually, because you're half packed.
Yeah, exactly.
And I often say as well, clients will say, I know the sofa's a bit knackered, but I'm going to wait because I'm going to buy a new one for my new house. My feeling then is, well, actually, why don't you just buy it now? Because it'll make this room look better. It'll be nice and fresh, and you're going to need it for the next place anyway. So it's not like you're wasting your money and you're taking it to your next home. So there's certain ways that you can just make things work a bit smarter as well. But selling your items or donating them to charity, again, is another big way of kind of decluttering your space in your floor area. Um, have a pre-viewing grooming routine as well. Again, I also speak to my clients who are selling at the moment about that. So again, the families that are in properties, you want to live in it. You maybe have your books out, the kids have got their toys everywhere. There's real 15-minute cleanup that we would recommend. And again, we've done an article on that. Feel free to kind of go and read that. But literally, just have a crate or a big plastic box, and you literally just put all of those things into it, stick them out in the garage. Your viewings take place, you bring them back out again, and they're back into your home. So it's little smart things as well. So you're not feeling totally depersonalized in your own home whilst this process is taking place. because that's difficult, isn't it? You want to enjoy your home still while this is happening, and it's stressful enough once you've made that decision, isn't it, Sophie?
Absolutely. I've seen myself turning up and actually being like, right, I'm going to put that in my car, put that in my car. And I've seen myself putting things in the back of the car just to get it out just for the viewing. So it does just open the space up. But it's been like the big baby bounce of things, right? In the back of the car. We make it work because
Yeah,
it does.
exactly.
It does. It helps.
So it is the space part, but it's also about, and again, I've had this before when I've gone into properties and the beds aren't properly made. Please make the beds properly, because that's a massive thing for people. They don't want to be going in and seeing things all shoved under the duvets because you've had a wee clear up and you're hiding it. It just doesn't look great. You know, plump up your cushions, tidy away dishes as well. People don't want to go into a kitchen when they're viewing a house and see dishes in the drying rack. If you're fortunate to have a dishwasher, put them in there so they're out of sight, or just dry them up and put them away. I know it's hygienic to let them drip dry and things like that, but actually for this purpose, you absolutely need that to be clear. Squeegees in the shower, again, not a great thing. You know, if you normally have your squeegees and everything hanging on a hook, again, just stick them away in the cupboard. Let air into the property. That's really vital. So again, even if you've just got them on secure lock but slightly open, that's a real way to get air flowing through the house as well. Because if it's a warm day, you don't want the house to feel too overly hot, because it's not a nice viewing experience for your viewer to go through. Even fluffing up rugs and freshening them up, get a steamer on them beforehand, you know, just being organised. I know it sounds a bit daft and a bit obsessive. And when I was selling ours, Billy was like, what are you doing? That's fine. That's not going to make any difference to the buyer. But I'm like, no, it really will make a difference. And we need to make sure that the house is groomed right. So having done so well with our outcome, obviously Alison's efforts were totally worthwhile. So we got so much more information from her. So that was the best 5 tips part. So all of those areas. So making sure that the space, the sign, eyesight, your line of sight, your decluttering, your plumping up, making things organized and clutter free, is the biggest part. But then how do we then go from those 5 tips to then making your living room seem larger? How do they do that, Sophie? Because the room's the room.
It is, absolutely, but there's little tweaks and things that you can do to really take advantage of it. Choose something and keep it bright and light, because that adds to the spacious feel. And it's really about showcasing what you have there. So for example, Alison, in this case, you had this lovely parquet floor, and we wanted to see as much of that, and actually seeing as much of the flooring space gave that illusion of this is a big spacious room, keeping the window sills clear so it lets as much light through. And also when we say keep your window sills clear, also make sure your windows are clean, because that also helps. Because if they're mucky and dirty, again, that's putting like a layer to stop that bright light coming through. And then think about shelves, for example. I mean, we have already spoken in depth about decluttering, but it is, look at even all obviously your display shelves, even if not for storage. But Perrie, you always say do things in like 3s or 5s. So just bear that in mind when you are displaying things. Glassware, for example, some pieces of glassware can be quite nice because the light can reflect off them. Likewise, mirrors as well, whether it be a mirror on a feature wall or on your media wall, or even like perhaps a large freestanding one. Position it just so that the light bounces off and it reflects. Or even if you perhaps got a nice vase that you can put, that again the light will bounce off and it creates these beautiful colors on the ceilings and the walls. And again, it gives that feeling of brightness and it's really inviting. We're obviously coming into the autumn months, so think about creating that feel in terms of the candles lit, the log burner on, and all that as well, because candles, not only, and we've said this with the senses, it gives you that smell, but it also gives that glow. Next thing is, and this is again something that Alison did herself, is just taking things out of the room that she knows she's not going to be keeping or taking. Don't just keep it there for the sake of it. Remove it and take it away. Perhaps even if there's another room in the property that you can put it in that's perhaps sitting empty, if there's perhaps a spare room, one of your kids have moved out and it's now sitting empty, perhaps utilize it in that space. And then as well, and this is actually, and it might sound really daft, but actually if you've got a dining room, for example, and you've got the dining table like pushed up against the wall, right now that perhaps works for you and your family, absolutely. For the purpose of photography and for viewings, make it a centerpiece, pull it into the middle of the table, get a lovely arrangement of flowers with that vase that the light can bounce off and some lovely blooms. That then creates that focal point. But if people can see all around and can completely walk around that dining table, again, it gives that illusion of space. If you've got it up against the wall, it automatically thinks, oh, well, there's not enough space for it.
Mm.
So it's all little things like that that actually have a big impact, because it's a mindset game. It's what people see in the illusions that we give off. But as Perrie says, it's also about creating that clear sight line. So if you've perhaps got like a long hallway, to get people's eyes to naturally go down it, get a nice runner just straight down the center of your hallway, because that automatically, again, it helps people with their kind of sight of vision.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for Alison, for example, she just did have a simple rectangular, just kind of box room, but obviously of a bigger scale. So there was no kind of dimensions or depth or anything like that. So actually, yes, we're able to let the property and the room do it speaking in terms of size, but it is just about placing your furniture so it doesn't feel clinical and just like a big blank room. It's then adding a bit like, obviously, when you've said do your grooming, Perrie, and make the beds, also fluff your cushions on the sofas and make sure don't look like you've just got up maybe from an afternoon nap and they're all deflated and a wee bit like tea bags. Like, pluff them up and get them nice and get your blankies folded nice, and again give that illusion of you want to be there, you want to be in the space, it's warm, it's inviting. So they're little things you can do in the living room. And to be fair, a lot of those can also, be taken into the dining room space, as I say, or
Yeah.
even the bedroom space, absolutely. But it's all about illusions and making it look as
Totally
safe
is.
as possible.
We had one client as well who had quite a few viewings, and
Mm.
the feedback that we were receiving is that one of the sitting rooms felt small, but actually the dimensions of the sitting room were quite large. We couldn't understand what it was. And then I hadn't been to the property to do a viewing until that point. And then I went to do the next lot of viewings. And as soon as I walked into that sitting room, instantly I knew what the problem was, because it was a long sitting room, but rather than having, so if say this is me coming into the sitting room this way, and the room went down, rather than having the sofas to the side, the sofas were here. So the back of the sofa was here, and then the front of the second sofa was in front of that. So they created almost a square. But what it technically had done was box in the room. So when you walked in, you were like, oh gosh, this feels really small. There's nowhere to sit. There's no floor space. It
So it's
just
like
took.
it's probably like walking in. It's like walking in. There's a barrier there. Like I can't get in the room. There's a barrier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly what it felt like, Sophie. So I gave that feedback to the seller. The seller moved it around. We did additional viewings after that, and the viewings went fantastically well. And no one said anything about the sitting space and the fact that it was small after that, because the feeling was that actually it was quite a nice big room, and therefore it kind of worked for everyone. So it's, again, as you're talking about illusions, but it's those little things that actually make a big difference. There was no cost to doing that. It was just, how can I make the room look better just by moving things around? So that, you're absolutely right. That's really important. So we're going to kind of go from lounge to kitchen. Kitchen's a big thing. So in this particular property, Alison had quite a kind of 50s vibe going on. She had the black and white checkered floor. That could have been expensive, of course, to change. So rather than do that, the decision was, well, actually, let's play on the niche factor of the fact that it is a kind of vintage 50s kitchen, and use it as a theme. So again, that was kind of about changing small things. But some of the steps that were taken were dressing the windowsills with herbs and terracotta pots, vintage cookware, so that worked with the flooring, treating the worktops to big wire racks and then putting lemons in them, glass jars with pasta. So very much was that kind of vintagey feel about it. The strangest thing that actually happened, I wouldn't recommend this to everyone, but basically her mum also had this huge plastic lobster, which I know sounds ridiculous, but actually took that, placed it in the middle of the table, paired it with some, the Le Creusettes that you get, the orange ones, put it on that, used that as a bread bin, and had the lobster sat beside it, and then hung a vintage apron on the wall next to it. And it just had a little bit of a fun factor, but it drew everyone away from the floor, because the floor actually then didn't look like an issue. But if everything surrounding it had been nice, new and modern, then actually the floor stood out even more. So it was really quirky the way that it happened. Also, little things as well. Like I've seen this in quite a few properties when I've gone to them, creating a little kind of coffee area.
Oh,
So
yeah.
maybe setting up a little coffee station. So you've got your
Mhm.
espresso cups, you've got your mochas, your cafetières, you've got all of that kind of sitting beside it, your little bowls with your packets of brown sugar, have all your little condiments alongside it as well. And nice wooden chopping boards as well, because again, they are seen as vintage in my mind, because generally everyone now has is plastic, isn't it? But you know, a proper nice butcher's block chopping board. But those
Yes.
small things just made such a massive difference and totally transformed this kitchen, where it actually looked quite funky. We've got a property at the moment that's actually a new build property, and they
Mhm.
have got quite eclectic taste. But what they have done is put that taste throughout all of the property, and it really, really worked. And
Yeah.
actually, the viewings that have taken place, everyone has commented on the colour and the quirkiness of
Mhm.
it, and that it's quite unusual, but liked, because it's not
Yeah.
normally what you see in a new build property. So that was quite an
Mhm.
interesting factor. So it was almost kind of like the reverse of what Alison did, but actually it's achieved the same result actually for this particular client. So really important to do that. Again,
Mhm.
for me, I've got it. I'm getting a new kitchen fitted soon. I'm quite excited about
Oh,
that. But I've actually got
okay.
all my cooking books because, as you know, Sophie, I do a lot of baking. So I've got a
Mhm.
rack where that is sitting on the worktops. But I don't really want it on my bunker. So I'm getting a new cabinet that's kind of got a enclosed part and then an open shelf area where I can put all my cookbooks and take them off the
Mhm.
bunker. And again, displaying your cookbooks, what that does, again, it tricks the mind, because what it's telling the viewer is, I can bake and I can cook in this kitchen.
Yes.
So you're telling
Mhm.
them a functionality, again, just with a
Yeah.
little bit of trickery of the mind because of what they've seen.
You're
So
painting a
small
story.
little things.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. You're painting a story and it's all feeding into that lifestyle piece, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So then moving out of the kitchen, obviously that's like the heart of the home. And then next we go to somewhere that we feel is our safe space. Like it's, as you mentioned at the beginning, Perry, it's almost like your sanctuary. It's where you retreat to. And it's the bedroom space.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with Alison's particular property, she had two bedrooms. She gave one this kind of Victorian glam based on a 19th century wardrobe. So that was then the kind of inspiration. Okay, that's the style of the wardrobe. Again, a bit like the kitchen. Let's capitalize on that and make it a theme.
Mm-hmm.
Now the other was more of a mid-century modern look, kind of more Danish teak, we would say. Now, to promote the Victorian glam, what Alison did was she went through her jewellery, did a little bit of reminiscing and kind of dug through, and then actually got, for like the dressing table, for example, got little ornate trinket dishes, and actually had the jewellery out on display. And it then created this is the style. You can envision yourself getting ready. We're in this kind of moment, putting my jewellery on. This is the era. And then the mid-century feel, she bought a rug, a bedspread, cushions with a little bit of retro print, added some of the kind of storage boxes that she actually already had, so it was just a case of repurposing them. And then it actually resembled like now I'm speaking as if I was here for this era, but a 1950s filing cabinet. So actually, when it was stacked, it gave it a great illusion. So she did, while she had two bedrooms that had completely different styles, she made it work in both and made it look like it was done purposefully, not just a case of, oh, we've got that bit of furniture, we'll put it there, and we've got that bit of there. It was a theme within the room. Now I'm sure everybody knows Dunelm. We've all been to Dunelm at one point. And you've perhaps seen like the Ottoman boxes that you can get. Not only are they a great, obviously, storage solution, but they do obviously help kind of fill any space in a room if it is sitting a bit empty. So what she did is she got an Ottoman box, for bedside tables, because you can get them in kind of different sizes, but she got ones that were perfect for bedside tables. So she got both of those in the room. It means we could hide anything away. Especially, and I think this is a big thing as well. And I don't know about you, Perry, when we're out at bedrooms, and if you have got bedside tables, hide away like all your chargers and your cables. If you've got like a phone cable and a Kindle cable, like hide all that away. I don't know, it's just little things like that. So if you have got Ottoman ones or ones with drawers, just tuck them away and hide them away. So she was able to do that, and then just a wee lamp on each side, and it was just perfect. It then just created that sanctuary feel, especially in the Victorian one, with the lights dimmed, but the light kind of catching off the jewellery that was sitting out, and then you've got that big feature wardrobe. Both rooms worked amazingly. Now, the one big change she actually did was she sold this kind of really big kind of luxurious bed, but that was purely for the fact that it actually dominated the space. Like it was too big for the room. And then she thought, okay, well, actually, it doesn't work in this room anyway. It's far too big. It's making the room seem really closed in. It's also not going to Italy with me. So actually, it's within my best interest to sell it, bag some of that cash, and use that to buy a more fitting bed for that room that instantly gave it that really spacious and airy feel. But actually, because she sold this bigger one, she wasn't out of pocket for doing that. But again, it contributed to getting that really big return and extra money in her pocket, which was a massive, like that was a great decision that she decided to do without it having an impact on her because it wasn't going to Italy anyway. So that is keys for your bedroom. Now, obviously, Perrie, you mentioned bathrooms, and I'm sure I heard the word spa somewhere, which has intrigued me.
Bathrooms to spa rooms, absolutely. They are expensive rooms. I had mine done last year. They're not easy to do. It was probably the weak link in this property in regards to how it presented. But you know, Alice had got the quote, and it was £10,000 to fix this bathroom, and she thought, yeah, that might be a bit risky, so I'm not going to do that. So decided basically just roll your sleeves up. How can I change this and make it a wee bit more luxurious and give someone a feeling of calm, tranquility, but also spa feeling effectively. So it felt like you wanted to be in that room and that you didn't have to spend a lot of money to achieve that. So first thing is really clean it proper as well. Grout and mold in bathrooms is a big no-no. So you absolutely have to really clear those. You get mold magic, you get loads of other ideas of how you can kind of remove the mold from it, but it's really important to do that. These make such a big difference. Go online, research it. It really does clear the bathroom up and make it such a more pleasant room to be in. Also, not just visually, but actually for smell too, because moldy showers and baths and all the grout that's decaying doesn't have a good aroma either. So that's really important. Replace all the ceiling as well. So again, easy to do if you've never done it before. YouTube, everyone uses it. YouTube it. They'll tell you exactly how to achieve it as well and how to apply it. So that makes a big difference as well. And actually it's a little bit therapeutic because you see the improvement and the change that it makes. And remember, through all these processes that we're speaking, you're driven to try and make your home the best it can be. So actually investing in this for a weekend is really going to give you a great return. The next thing, again, if your shower screen is not in a good way, you can buy relatively economical ones. You can go to Argos, you can get one for like 80, 100 quid. So, you know, you're not overly spending. So again, get a nice new shower screen that's got proper sealed area at the bottom, because nothing worse if that's all rotted and yellow and cracked, and people instantly think it's a negative and that it's going to cost lots of money. So it's a real quick fix on a budget as well. Adding colourful body scrubbers is a real big thing as well, because people want to see how they can use the space. So that always kind of is a bit tempting. You know what it's like. You go to a hotel, the first thing you do is go in and look at that bathroom, and you're excited to see what trinkets you've got that are new that you don't have at home.
Correct. Yes.
So again, if you've got things like that in there, that makes a big difference. So scrubbers, wooden bath shelves as well. So again, that theme of the kind of 50s style going all the way through the house went into the bathroom with that as well. Decanted soaps and lotions. So again, get rid of old bottles if you've got them, decant them rather than just having your Aldi's or Lidl version on the shelf that doesn't look great. Put them in a nice little ceramic or wooden decanter. Again, home bargains done them. You'll get them for like £1.99, something like that, but it just looks so much nicer. You don't have to be putting luxury soaps in them because no one knows what's in it. So again, you can stick with what you normally buy, but those make a big difference, and they're a nice touch in the bathroom. IKEA as well do laminated cupboards. Other suppliers, I'm sure, do them as well. But again, they're great for storage, maybe for under the sink. So it almost looks like a vanity unit. So again, that's a great way of getting all your shampoos and your bottles out. You can also, you know, sand, if you do already have something and it's maybe looking a bit wilted because it's got a bit damp, sand it down, repaint it. All these country paints now that you can use as well. So that can just make it look so colourful and inviting as well. So a real nice way to do it. Even if you just want to wax it, if it's light wooden and you just want to sand off the stains and then re-wax it with some beeswax or something like that, that's a really nice touch. But it also kind of gives sheen and colour to the room as well, and I think that just adds a little bit of a pizzazz to it. So in the end, actually, it turned out to be quite a nice bathroom by making these small changes. It was a great result. It took some cleaning, some scrubbing, a little bit of DIY that was quite simplistic to do, but actually saved thousands of pounds. Thousands. I think there was all about £200 spent doing it versus £10,000 spending to put a new bathroom in, and the same result was achieved effectively. So it really does make a big difference. So I think it's about just, you know, step back, look at the rooms. How can you make them nicer? Go to Pinset. There's loads of websites you can check again, so you can get some design ideas. It's a really easy way to do it. So a little bit of homework. It's your biggest asset. You want to get the highest return you possibly can, but you don't want to invest necessarily a lot of cash into it. So with a little bit of time, you can really make the rooms look great.
Absolutely, definitely. And as we mentioned, like if you need help with that, that's also what we can be. We can be that kind of fresh pair of eyes that can give you that insight and guidance on what would be within your best interest to do to the property. So like in Alison's case, you can get a 26 times return and look at obviously the investment that she put in, that £1,100 to get an offer that she did. So it just shows proof is in the pudding.
Absolutely. If you're thinking about selling, you don't know where to begin, by all means reach out. We can give you some tips on how to present your home, how to stage it. We've got some articles that you could read. You can also read this one, and you've got all of the top tips there within this again. So that's the link in the post. Get some advice. Do your research. We always say research, do your research and get yourself in a really strong position to get a good return on your home. But actually, again, speak to an agent, because you may think that the job's a bigger task than it needs to be, and we can give you some real tips on how you can overcome those concerns that you may have.
Absolutely. Well, there we go. That was perfect. Well, if there is any comments, put them in. As we say, even if you've got your own case studies, we would like to hear it as well. But I think that's us, Perrie.
It is. Thank you very much, everyone. Until next time, take care.
Bye for now.